All right, Mr. Bullens here, and the purpose of this video is multifaceted. We need to talk about how to log into Nearpod. It seems like some students were having some issues with that today. We're actually going to go into Nearpod and look at some of the words from today and talk about some of the vocabulary for this week. We're going to go into Google Classroom and learn how to navigate some of that as well. So we have a lot of things to really kind of dig into as we go through this. So I guess the first and foremost, the most important thing is getting back into our Google Classroom. And remember, we don't really look a lot on the stream. We're going to go into classwork. And in classwork, right now there's only one topic. That topic is ecosystems. And so right here, now you're probably thinking, well, Mr. Bullens, like there's not a ton of stuff posted in there. No, there's not. There is a Zoom meeting link that I'm going to take out of here pretty soon because that's not going to work anymore. But there are some things down here that I think are very important. And the most important is this Google slide. Why is this Google slide so important? Let's take a look at it. In this Google slide, it's going to give you your days of the week, the date, and what you're supposed to do on that day. So for example, today, our goal was to get into Zoom. Only about a third of us were able to do that, and that's okay that only about a third of us were able to do that. I'm hoping more people jump on and start to learn how to join these things more in the future. But if you look at the second page, it gives us directions. And these directions are the agenda for today. We're going to Zoom, which we did. I'm not going to post that Zoom. I'm going to post this instead. We practiced using the Zoom tools, and we went over the expectations, raising our hand, keeping our microphone on mute, the stuff that we did on the first week. We will be using Nearpod. If you are listening to me, you need to be sure to follow. If you're doing it that morning, follow along. Or you can work on your own, which is what people watching this video will have to do. And in order to do that, you will have this link and you will have these codes. And for today, I'm going to pretend that I am in Miss Saunders' homeroom class. So my code is CJIDA. CJIDA. I go to Nearpod. This is the page that it opens up to. Obviously, you need to enter the code. So I put in the code CJIDA and I hit join. When I join, it's going to ask me for a name. So we're going to put in Mr. Bullens. You should put your first and last name in so that I know who is doing the work and I know who to give the grade to when we start to take grades on these. So I'm going to join the lesson. This is a student-paced lesson. Don't sit around waiting for me to change the slides. That's not going to happen. And so here's when we're kind of like starting to really dig into the note portion of this as well. Our first unit's on ecosystems, and it's very important that you're able to identify the different factors in an ecosystem, why they interact, how they interact, and how those interactions change, and identify each ecosystem. And so that's like your I can statement. Typically, I would write that at the top of our anchor chart, but this is your anchor chart. So there it is. By the end of all this, I'm hoping you're able to do that. We can't talk about ecosystems unless I tell you what an ecosystem is. An ecosystem is all the living things. So let's look around here. I see some plants. I see bugs. I see a fox. I see a rabbit. Sure, somewhere up in here, if we were to look really closely, we could probably find some birds. The living things. We know what the living things are in an ecosystem. And the non-living things. Well, I start to look into this and I see that there's sunlight. That's not alive. Water, not alive. Rocks, not alive, although kids drive me nuts talking about rocks every year. Yes, they're abiotic factors, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it's not going to be an answer on the test, I promise. Some of these other things would be. So we have living things and non-living things. And it's always on the first day that I have to tell you that, unfortunately, science loves to make these types of things a little more difficult. What they love to do is this. They love to give you a word and then give you another word for that word. And so we're going to talk about that now. We're not just going to say living things. We're going to call them biotic factors. Biotic factors. So from now on, I'm not going to call them living things. I would like for you not to call them living things, although it's not incorrect. I do want you to be able to say the word biotic factor. And the thing that I like about biotic factor is it starts with this word right here, bio. And if we go back into some Greek and Latin, we're going to understand that bio means life. So when you see this word bio attached to things, like if you're in school and you're studying biology, that's the study of life. And it all boils down to this word right here, bio. Biotic factors are the living things in an ecosystem. The plants, the animals, the living things in an ecosystem. Now, if we look back, it says all the living. So all the biotic factors are part of an ecosystem, but it also says all the non-living. And you probably guessed it, science has a very special word for that as well. So let's go check it out. That word is abiotic, meaning not living, so not living factors. Non-living things in an ecosystem are abiotic factors. Now, I can see how this could get confusing. You literally have one letter making the difference between living and non-living. You just have to study that. What are non-living things in an ecosystem? Well, sunlight, not alive. The temperature, not alive, whether it's cold or this place here looks pretty warm. The wind, not alive. Water of any sort, whether it's rain, sleet, snow, hail, not alive. The soil is not alive. All of these things are abiotic factors. So if we were to go back and take a look at our ecosystem, and we were to say, okay, I know that I have all the biotic factors and the abiotic factors and how they interact. So let's take our rabbit here. I wonder what he's about to do. He's probably going to eat some of this grass. That is two living things interacting. The grass is giving energy to the rabbit. This fox out here is thinking, that rabbit looks awful tasty. I think I'm going to chase him, catch him, and eat him. The energy from the grass went to the rabbit. The rabbit is now going to give energy to the fox. So living things interact. We see that. However, these ducks are probably drinking some water, or they're at least floating on the water. The water is an abiotic factor. They are biotic factors, but they are working together. I do notice that it looks out here, I'm judging, just making efforts here, green everywhere. It's probably spring or summer. It's probably pretty warm, and the sunlight is shining. How do I know that? Because I can see it's not dark. These trees, this grass, these bushes are interacting with the sunlight. How? Plants use sunlight to make their own energy. We'll get to that very, very soon. That's probably in tomorrow or maybe the next day's lesson. So they're interacting with a non-living factor. So biotic and abiotic factors consistently interact in an ecosystem. And it's the different biotic and abiotic factors that make an ecosystem unique. If I were to start talking about saltwater, starfish, clownfish, sea anemones, sharks, and stingrays, all of a sudden we're no longer in this forest environment. It sounds like we're in an ocean or a marine environment, and we would be because the biotic and abiotic factors are very different, and that's what makes each ecosystem unique. So for today, you have learned about biotic factors. You have learned about abiotic factors. And we know how to get in because we use this link, which we should have all bookmarked because I did that with you in class. You find your specific homeroom, and I do that because if you have too many people in a room, it's going to start kicking people out, and I want you to be in your own homeroom. So you find your homeroom, you sign in, and then you start going through the Nearpod slides on your own if you don't make it with me in class. Or maybe you're part of my class, and I move too fast on a slide. You're thinking, oh man, I didn't get that definition down. It's okay. You have a chance to come back in here and go on your own. The next thing I want you to do is this. If you go to this slide, it's going to ask you to take a quiz. Okay? I am not going to go through the entire quiz because I don't want to give away the answers. You'll get to study that on your own. If for some reason you're at home and you want it to read aloud to you, this little button here will read the questions aloud to you and the answers. So we're going to skip through this pretty quickly. 5 whole questions. If you get them all wrong, it's the first day. This isn't a grade. I would hope you would get most of them correct. That's okay. I'm going to, it's going to make me take the thing. Okay, so I'm going to answer all of these incorrectly then because I'm not giving away answers. So maybe symbiosis. Obviously, I did not do very well. It would tell you right here how you did. I'm going to move on. This is going to take you to a slide where if you click on this button here, you can play a video on Discovery Education. Now, it may ask you to sign in. Just sign in using Google. You all have access to Discovery Education, and watch this video on biotic and abiotic factors. It's very good. When you finish that video, scroll on over to this video and watch this amazing Study Jams video, which I'm hoping it opens to the right one. It does. It talks about ecosystems. And when you finish that, you are done with everything that I need for you to do today. You've taken notes, you've listened to the video, you've watched me, and you're good. However, there is another thing I want to show you in your Google Classroom, because not only is all of the stuff, like everything is listed for you here, right? And I don't have this for today because this is what I was going to work on for tomorrow. But you have some other things in here. You have the Zoom meeting, which will be deleted because I'm going to put our new Zoom meeting in here. But you have this PDF. This PDF gives you access to our vocabulary for this week. You've already seen these two words, abiotic factor, biotic factor. So apparently this week we're going to talk about carnivores, carrying capacity, community, consumers, producers, decomposers, herbivores, and omnivores. And we will. We'll get that covered this week. Is there necessarily going to be a quiz on Friday? Probably not. It depends on how it looks like we're doing as a class as to whether or not I give you a quiz at the end of the week. So you constantly have access to this if you want to use your paper and your notebook and you want to try this. I wonder what it is, a worm that breaks down dead materials. Well, I would have to come back up here and find something that, oh, there it is, breaks down dead materials. So it looks like a worm is a decomposer. So I would go back on my paper in my notebook and jot down decomposer for number 1. Miss Saunders eats meat and plants, shows she is a what? Well, I would have to come back up here and figure out something that eats meat and plants, and it would be one of these answers. I know one that most definitely you should not be missing is this one. An owl is a blank because it is living. So we all know that the answer to number 7 is biotic factor. We just studied that. And this just gives you more practice and even more practice with a reading passage, all for vocabulary. I will be honest with you, if you do the vocabulary packet, and then I will teach you about some vocabulary sites that we're going to practice with, typically those students are the ones that do the best on the vocabulary. So that is how to get logged in. That's how to navigate the Classworks page, and that's understanding that this remote learning slide here is where you need to go pretty much every single day to see what you need to do. So you'll come in, you'll come down here. Now for today, I'm actually going to add this video in here. It'll be next. But then look, tomorrow, right? It's blank. You'll have things posted in there. I don't post them early because I don't want people getting so far ahead that they can't keep up with the class because they're just rushing through assignments. That's not how we need to do things. So that is all that we need to do for today, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. And if this, I guess this is on YouTube, you're supposed to smash the like button and subscribe. So throw down on that for me today too.